Hi, I'm Savory. I'm your guide. And tonight we're going to do a bit of a ritual. It's called a sweat lodge. And in order to have a sweat lodge function, you have to have hot rocks to put inside the sweat lodge. And in order to do that, we need a fire. So we are going to be in the process of constructing a fairly large bonfire. And in that bonfire, we are going to stack the rocks that you see on the side here and heat them up to where they're glowing red, and then take them inside of this hut and pour water on them and have a nice steam bath. So that's our main agenda. But in addition to that, because it's December 16th, 2012, we've decided to have a special event which will be in keeping with the times, the end of the Mayan calendar, and the shift in many people's minds associated with that has come to mean a great number of things. A time for renewal, a time for a great change, you name it. You talk to anybody, they have all their different opinions about that, and we'll probably hear some of them tonight. But for my part, what I would like to do is burn a few religious books. And the reason that I want to burn them is not because I haven't appreciated reading them. I really have appreciated reading books from many spiritual traditions. However, I feel like in view of the news from around the world and the various cultures in conflict because of different religious belief systems, I think it's time that we re-examine those assumptions and those affiliations, and perhaps steer people more in the direction of discovering for themselves their own spiritual source, rather than relying on hearsay or ancient traditions, which may have been fantastic when they first arrived, but at this point in time are doing little except to incite cultural friction between various groups. And I think that we could well do away with all of them and start over from scratch. One of the aspects of the various religious traditions is that they have been, in the last couple thousand years, primarily male-dominated, and they reflect a patriarchal culture at large, and that is something which has been called into question in more recent generations. And I think out of respect for women, it perhaps is time to undermine some of that patriarchy and try something new, something more egalitarian, or perhaps even do a few experiments with matriarchy. So I think it's a great time for starting something like that, and in celebration of freedom from dogma, I intend to burn these books tonight with the help of my friends. So I hope you enjoy the show, and maybe we'll learn something about sweat lodges and philosophy and all kinds of things besides. Thanks for coming along. And I'm going to turn the camera over to the fire pit that I'm now constructing. Okay. So for our next trick, we need to stack this wood up and get it going. These two, maybe that, maybe a couple more like that. So again, why the interest in burning religious books? Many of us have been exposed to one main form of religion for the most of our lives, if we haven't traveled around a lot and seen how other people live in other countries perfectly well under different religious teachings. But even if you haven't traveled and you've only been exposed to the variety of sects within one major religion, you do get the feeling that things are not crystal clear in the dogmatic world. Otherwise there wouldn't be umpty different sects of Baptists, or any other major branch. There's been a lot of disputes all along the way, and mostly they've been resolved by people voting with their feet and just setting up their own church somewhere else, which is fine. I'm all for freedom of religion, but it really doesn't seem to be getting us anywhere as a humanity. It doesn't really seem to be getting us to an epitome of morality, in spite of all the rules that people have tried to insist upon being God-given. The fact remains that people do a lot of funky shit. And there doesn't seem to be any real solution to it other than locking people up or shooting them. So I kind of wonder just what has been accomplished by all this religious fervor. Has it really done the good that it claims to be doing? And then when you have, countries poised at the brink of war, when you have countries poised at the brink of war over their religious differences, it just makes you wonder, like in the Middle East, there's a lot of cultures that have so many things in common in terms of their lifestyle, and yet are bitterly resentful of each other because of religious beliefs. It just makes you wonder, maybe it's something we should get over, because it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Anyhow, I'm going to go on stacking the rocks. To have some good discussions tonight among people about religious themes. I don't intend for this to be really some sort of hate party, I think we can bless that which is being denounced. Good to speak ill of it is good to speak well of the dead. A eulogy, I believe, is what we need. most part, we're using dense basalt in order to store a lot of heat in these rocks. These are just roadside rocks. We're not using anything from the oceans or the stream beds. Can't really afford to use anything that might have been wet, because those kind of rocks can explode. But we're using nice solid roadside rocks. Event. So we'll see what happens. You can see the rocks are up on several layers of wood. That's to get a lot of airflow up through the fire. That makes it sort of like a chimney effect. It allows the fire to burn very hot and gets the heat and temperature we want for these rocks.